Hi everyone, welcome to Flicks and Foods. Kaze here, and today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. So this is what happens basically when a big screen production like the first Ninja Turtles movie makes a lot of money, has a lot of fans, it already is doing really well with action figures, and the cartoon series is still doing well. Crap load of money you're making, you're going to get a sequel. Now, the thing about that title, The Secret of the Ooze, we'll get along to that a little bit later on. But the thing is, this movie comes out about 1 year after the first movie, and all the events in the film also take place 1 year after the movie. We open with the Turtles living with April O'Neil now in her apartment, and she's getting a little fed up having the Turtles living in there. They're a little messy, and it's ironic that she says Splinter, their master, who is the rat, is the most cleanest one out of the bunch. Go figure. So they go ahead and they end up cutting over to where we have Shredder, who is apparently not dead after getting fallen into a a garbage truck, and he comes back with the rest of the members of the Foot Clan who weren't aware of his return until a little later. It's a pretty intense scene because they do this great shot of seeing Shredder's face in the shadows. You never really see his complete face, so we don't know how disfigured he is, but it's very hinted that something happened to him while, obviously after being hit through, falling inside of the back of a garbage truck. One thing that about this is that Shredder does some new design with his helmet. It kind of has like razor blades and stuff. It's very cartoony, but I gotta admit, as a kid, I thought it looked cool and that it was intense, because I'm thinking he's already got these blades. He's gonna probably do something with this suit. I don't know what that would mean, if he would hit people, with his helmet or whatever. But as a kid, to me, it looked intimidating. And now, as an adult, I admit it does look silly, but, it's a product of the times, being the 90s. I go ahead and I let it go. So, Shredder's big plan this time is to use the same mutagen that created the Ninja Turtles in the first movie, that he's going to go ahead and he's going to now create some mutants of his own. And I'm thinking, as a kid, again, remember, I'm thinking we had all these great characters that they could have created. And the two, obviously, were Bebop and Rocksteady, the Warthog and the Rhino, that were his stooges in the animated series. So I was thinking, hey, you know what, we're going to go and see these guys. The commercials and trailers even hinted that we would see some mutants. Oh, and I remember always seeing that one shot of the Shredder's henchman Tatsu getting like scared from a arm that was coming out of the thing, and the arm was like brown and hairy, and I'm thinking, that's Bebop. That's Bebop right there. And I remember telling all my friends in school, guys, Bebop's he's going to be Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop and Rocksteady. Can you just see the commercial? Yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, they were like this. They were like, get out of here, nerd. I thought it was really cool that they went ahead and they were going to have the mutants in this movie. And when they reveal the mutants, it's not Bebop and Rocksteady. It's these two other characters named Toka and Razar, who are a wolf and a snapping turtle. And their designs, again, were cool. It's Jim Henson, Creature Shop. They did an amazing job. But I really wish they would have had Bebop and Rocksteady in there, just because that's what us as the fans were really hoping for back then. And still, part of me kind of wishes it was now. I think every time, whenever I see this movie, that it's going to change somehow. It's like, no, it is Bebop and Rocksteady. It's like, it's wishful thinking. That will never happen. It doesn't deter the fact that the characters are still cool. They're kind of on the more primitive, primal side, I would say, as opposed to how the Turtles are intelligent. And they go into that without ruining anything in the movie. They explain why that is. I would say also, like, another good thing about this film, aside from us having mutants now, is that it was definitely character development, seeing the Turtles go from their lair. They're also afraid of having Foot Clan members following them when they're looking for a new home after the events of the first movie with what happened with Splinter. And, you could tell that they're still a little on edge. So in the first movie, we go ahead and we have a lot of damn, there's more... I'm just saying there's not a lot of damn, but you hear that word a lot in the movie. Other people, I'm sure, have pointed that out. There's also the violence factor was turned up a bit. And as a kid and everything, I was fine with this, and it was cool. And as an adult, I was still fine with it. And when you watch this movie, and I remember being as a kid, I said, yeah, this is cool. It's good to see the Turtles back on the big screen and everything. But as time went on, I noticed, I said, why do they not really use their weapons? And I think that was because of complaints back then of parents And people who probably don't have kids but like to be nosy, just going in and saying, "Oh, you know what? It's a Ninja Turtles. This is a kids movie. Why is someone getting punched in the face? Why are they saying damn? Why blah 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 blah?" And this was the very like early '90s where it was still pretty much the Wild West of what you could probably get away with in a kids film, quote unquote. I think this is a movie for everybody to enjoy. One of the things is that the turtles, they don't really use their weapons. They're very more bare-fisted in this one. They don't. I don't believe they say "damn" at any point in the movie. I might be mistaken, but they don't really go into any kind of profanity or anything. I think the most Raphael says to a character is "Go or I'll kick your butt." So take that as you will. My favorite character, obviously Leonardo, who has the two swords. He doesn't necessarily do anything with them. I think the most I remember seeing him use them was he was fighting some kind of robber, and instead of you see he's got his swords, he just goes like, "Now you see him, now you don't." He throws them in the air and grabs them instead of I. I would have just been like, okay, you know what? I'm going to threaten him. It's more intimidating for a human robber in this world, I think, to see a reptile man with, a turtle with two swords that is threatening you, as opposed to seeing you jump up in the air, grabbing them. I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of qua there. I don't get it. It's very cartoony fighting, very slapstick. It's still a bit intense, but the pain factor doesn't seem as much as it should be. It's kind of like someone gets picked up, thrown in the sky, basically, and they fall through a building, and it's kind of just like, that hurt. So I think that if they added the more, violence and had more of the fighting that made the first movie very memorable and cool for kids, that this one would have probably been on the same level. It's still a good movie. It's just the fact of it being that you go from one extreme to another extreme. You go from appeasing the public, which enjoyed the first movie a lot, as opposed to just appeasing and the censors in this one, which you still got a fine movie. Like I said, I enjoyed this, but it's just the thing of it being that it's very downplayed to the extreme where turtles with weapons are just fighting with their fists and kicking, and that's not really what we came to see. When I had the Ninja Turtle toy, I used his weapons, and I was like fighting with the other characters and stuff, and I wanted to see that on the big screen. And if any kids that are out there now that are watching Ninja Turtles, I'm sure they like to see them use the weapons too. It doesn't have to be anything brutal, but I figure that that's a good part of what the fighting element of the series is all about. One thing about this movie is that the majority of the cast still from the first movie returns for this one. There are a few exceptions. Judith Hogg does not play April O'Neil this time anymore. She's been replaced with Paige Turco, who I was fine with. I just, it's one of those things where I was used to Judith Hogg. I figured she had more of that April look than Paige Turco does. Paige Turco does have like a lot of the wit and sort of like, caring disposition that I figured April would have. I just figured Judith Hogg captured the entire look, presentation, and everything that I thought April had from me watching the cartoons and stuff and translating that to the big screen. I identified more with that April than I did with Paige. Taking nothing away from her, I just figured that Judith was a better cut for me. They also introduced a character in this movie called Keno, played by Ernie Reyes Jr., who was actually a stunt performer in the first movie. I believe he played Donatello. Ernie Reyes Jr. plays Keno, and Keno is just a pizza delivery boy who comes across the turtles. It's very early in the beginning. He ends up befriending them in ways. I'll save that for the movie to explain and everything. But it was cool seeing him in the movie doing his own stunts. My thing was, if you're going to introduce a character for the turtles to be friends with, again, you had a whole roster of people from the cartoon you could have done it with. I would have been fine with them even introducing Zack, the fifth turtle. And even if Ernie Reyes Jr. played Zack, and it was just kind of like, all right, he's not the same exact character, but if they used the name, I would have been like, okay with it. I understand what you're going for. And I was at that age where I could understand films not putting in a character for reasons or whatever. But again, you had all these characters, these action figures, these characters on the show, and you picked this guy who's no one ever heard of before, and the trailer made it seem like they were like, he's introducing a new friend. We were like, okay, who is this guy? I thought he was probably going to be someone who got mutated into a character. I don't know. Elias Koteas is not playing Casey Jones anymore. In fact, Casey Jones is nowhere in this film, which would have been a really good thing if they did have him in there, since he is the one at the end of the first movie that turns the lever on the garbage truck in order to kill Shredder. So that would have been cool to see that he wants revenge on everybody. But Casey Jones was completely not involved in this movie. I guess they wanted to save that spot for Kino. The subtitle for this film was called The Secret of the Ooze. As a kid, I didn't really pay that any mind. I just thought it sounded cool, and I think that's what the producers and stuff of this film kind of thought of as well, because there was no explanation for that title. The Secret of the ooze referring to the mutagen, which is what the kids of the time knew was what transformed the turtles from average turtles into mutant heroes. I don't remember ever really being called ooze, but in this film it's called ooze, and there's really no secret to it. The only real thing is that we know that it was constructed in a laboratory and that it managed to escape. That's Ninja Turtles History 101. It's done in the first movie, it's done in the cartoons, it's done in the comics. It was just a canister that escaped. There later on they do go into what creates the ooze and all that other stuff, but that's more into comics, cartoons territory, not within the film. They don't go into any of that at all. So for it to be called that title just seemed a little odd. So going ahead and giving it a score on this, I'd say Ninja Turtles 2 is about a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It's hard to really put a finger on one of those two, maybe 7.5. It's not a terrible movie. There are some really great moments in it, especially towards the end, which was played all throughout the commercials and trailers. To my knowledge, if I remember correctly, it was always you saw the Vanilla Ice segment, which I think this movie is more classic for, where they're going, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go. So there's a lot of that happening in there, and that's a key element in the movie that it just makes you laugh. It's very 90s. It's Vanilla Ice, and the song is so catchy. I got it downloaded myself. I think it's just a fun little hit. It doesn't, again, take anything away from this film. People might think it dates it or something, or that it's just beyond cheesy. I just thought it was fun. I would say go ahead and definitely give this movie a go. If you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, or if you're curious as to what it's all about, definitely see the first movie, though. I would never suggest seeing this one first. It's just one of those sequels that you have to see the first one in order to get a feel out of. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of looking like, huh? So go ahead and give this one a try, and go ahead and see where it takes you. It's definitely not disappointing to me at all. There are other turtle movies that are definitely more disappointing that we're gonna go ahead and get to. But with this one though, it's a fun romp. Go ahead and enjoy it, and I'll go ahead and I'll see you all on the next Flicks and Foods. Please go ahead and hit subscribe, ring that bell, show this video a like, and I will catch you all next time. Peace and love to be continued.